Hello and welcome to another episode of NXT UK Weekly right here on the Powered 4 TV YouTube page, exclusively on the YouTube page. You can find us on the podcast channel as well. I'm Johners, and joined as always by my good friend, good pal, good buddy, Mr. Powered 4, John Scott. So John, great to be recording with you again to talk about another week of NXT UK. How's your week been?
Yeah, very good, mate. As we said off air, a little bit busy and frantic in my day job, I've got to be honest with you, as much as yours is by the sounds of it. So, but other than that, this week has rolled around very, very fast for me. So, we got here quite quick. The introduction, I'm a little bit disappointed this week, Jonas, if I'm honest. I was expecting something
to put a bit more effort into
quite amazing after last week. But Mr. Powered 4, I'm going to stick with that for a while. That's the gimmick.
Yeah, definitely. But I'd say another packed week on NXT UK, which we'll talk about. Another packed week on Powered4.tv as well. So
Absolutely.
Lots going up. But have you got any kind of snapshots of things that are going up on the site this week that we can look forward to, John?
Yeah, so this week we've had some few drops. Obviously, the Life Layers episode, I think we're up to number 3 now with William Eva.
Always
very
good.
strange and bizarre show, but get some good feedback. Got a lot of good ratings, I know that much. My tech guy sent me over some of the statistics, and it's doing very well. So that's dropped on this Monday. But recently, we've had another amazing show from 1PW. A video that will come on in the middle of this show, so you'll be able to check that out. But some really big names again from 1PW. And of course everything else is there. We've also had some classic matches go up, about 10 of them now are all up there to go and see. We've got guys like Hulk from the Road Warriors is on there. We've got the Bushwhackers. You can't beat the Bushwhackers, John, yeah, exactly. You can't not do that, can you, really? Yeah, just an amazing amount of legends on there, really. You'd be surprised who's there. Mick Foley as well. Got to give a shout out to him. But go over, check it out. Owen Hart is there as well. I mean, it's quite an array of talent on show, no doubt about it. So we're looking forward to putting more of those out as well in the coming weeks.
Yeah, definitely. And new promotions jumping on board Powered 4 TV all the time. Don't forget to check out my interview that I did with Kim Artlett, the owner, the founder, the promoter of Ignite Wrestling over in Florida. That's a really fun listen. You can check that out on the YouTube channel right here. So just click play, hit subscribe, of course, or listen to it on the podcast channel. But that's Kim Artlett from Ignite Wrestling. That's another new promotion that's come on board. Reach Wrestling as well, John. They've come on board recently. Yes,
absolutely. You can check those out right now
from
as
Plymouth.
well. You've got to keep up with it. Go over to Powered4.tv. They're always going to be there available. As I say all the time, listen, go over, check it out. Before you sign up, you can see everything. There's nothing hidden. Everything's there that you'll get, and don't forget there's the free to see as well. So a lot of these great promotions are available for free access. So if you're in the position at the moment where you can't afford to put some money down, fine, just go over, check us out, check all the other great content. There's loads there to see. And obviously have a scroll through of what you can get with the subscription. There's loads of good stuff, especially of course TNT Extreme. You will see one of the best flagships from the UK there, no doubt about it. And of course all the other promotions available as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's growing by the day. But we're here to talk about NXT UK. There's plenty to talk about on this episode of NXT UK Weekly, John. We've got another first round of the Heritage Cup. Trent Seven versus the Lucky and Kenny Williams this week. We're going to see the NXT UK in-ring return of Eddie Dennis, the Pride of Wales, of course, and a big contract signing at the end of the show to talk about between Walter and Ilya Dragunov ahead of next week's big championship showdown. So a big contract signing a bit later on. But you were going to say something there about Eddie Dennis, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Eddie Dennis. I've been quite looking forward to this. I think he's definitely got one of the hottest kind of things going on at the minute on the show that I'm very intrigued. So we'll get to that. I know he was first up, but I'll let you do the intro.
He was
as per normal. But I'm Going into this show, that was probably the best thing I was looking forward to be quite honest with you. Even despite the big contract signing, I was more keen to see this version of Eddie Dennis that we were going to get.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that then, because as they kind of set up last week, Oliver Carter laid down a challenge to Eddie Dennis for this week's show. They had their match. Got to say, Eddie Dennis looked fantastic. He's definitely been doing the training, putting in the reps. Now, on last week's show, we kind of mentioned that this would be kind of Eddie Dennis's return to an NXT UK ring. The first match back since his match against Trent Seven, if I'm not mistaken, at NXT UK Takeover Blackpool 2. Hell of a match. In this one, though, Oliver Carter, wow. He was on fire. He surprised me in this one. He used his pace to offset the Pride of Wales. Carter even connected with a huge tope through the ropes, a urinage and a lion salt for a close near fall. Carter really put Eddie Dennis through his paces in this one, John. Carter even attempted a springboard 450, but the vastly intelligent Eddie Dennis, of course, brought up his knees just in the nick of time. And it was Eddie Dennis who cleverly pulled off the win by transitioning Carter's offense into a 7-bridge bomb for the eventual 1-2-3, and quite a hard-fought win, I have to say, there for Eddie Dennis. Very impressed with Oliver Carter. Not seen a huge amount from him up until now, to be honest with you, but he was very impressive in this one. I've got to say, I think he had the lion's share of the offense, but it was the Pride of Wales, Eddie Dennis, who pulled this one off. He looked pretty good in this one. Like I say, he's been putting in the reps in the gym. What did you think of the match, then, John?
Yeah, well, this was really good. I think a lot of people were expecting like an enhancement match going on here, all about Eddie Dennis. But yeah, as you say, got to run for his money here, and obviously, used plenty of this. That was what it was about. I think, I think I was curious to see, was anyone going to come out? Was there going to be any of that kind of stuff? But no, it was he got it done himself, so to speak, and again, the aftermath as well. I'll talk about that now. But obviously, a lot of hints. We've been talking about this other angle. I kind of was suspecting, will it kind of, interlink with the other one? I'm kind of glad it has. It wasn't I don't think this was as writing on the wall as maybe now it's come out. It kind of is, but I don't think leading up to it, I kind of thought maybe they'll keep these two things separate. And for all intensive purposes, it could still well be separate. This might just be Eddie Dennis playing mind games again, as we know. So they're making it. I think, let's say, from a storytelling point of view, they're making it very obvious at the moment. This is the work of Eddie Dennis. However, I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as that. I think Eddie Dennis is playing a manipulative game all round here, and I think that's what they're trying to go for. And let's not forget the alliance he may or may not have with Pretty Deadly as well.
Yeah, well, of course, you're referring to Eddie Dennis when he picked up the microphone after the match, and he acknowledged the attack of Flash Morgan Webster from a couple of weeks ago, and then invites Flash Morgan Webster and his alleged best friend, as Eddie Dennis put it, Mark Andrews, to a special mediation on next week's show. And it looks like Eddie Dennis, because we've been thinking about this for a couple of weeks, John, we've been speculating and conspiring between the two of us about who that mystery attacker might be. Well, that's it. And it looks like Eddie Dennis is thinking along the same lines as me, with with my suspicions towards Mark Andrews being the attacker, and it must make me just as intelligent as Eddie Dennis, surely. Well, maybe not, but like I say, it's all going to play out on next week's show with this mediation. Eddie Dennis, Flash Morgan Webster, Mark Andrews, to find out what's going on. Obviously, Eddie Dennis is trying to put a little bit of a crowbar between Flash Morgan and Mark Andrews on this one, but very, very interesting. Like I say, it kind of drags the storyline out a little bit further, and it keeps us guessing until next week. And like I say, a little bit more of Eddie Dennis will be definitely up for that, and to see what happens next. But then we get a video package highlighting the leader of Gallus, Joe Coffey, who it says will be returning to NXT UK soon. And then it's announced that the real NXT Cruiserweight champion, Jordan Devlin, will be returning to NXT UK next week. So two big returns coming our way soon, John. Joe Coffey, like I say, they didn't say next week, but I'd imagine in the next few weeks or so. And notably the NXT Cruiserweight champion, Jordan Devlin, coming back next week. So, any thoughts on these two returns?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to both of them. It certainly puts a lot of emphasis on next week's show, no doubt about it. I think it's going to be one of the,
big time,
if not the best one we've had, more than likely because of what's going to go on it. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think they've done a good job, a good solid job of getting progress through all these shows, keeping us hooked in. Let's not forget they got a huge. They got a big roster for an hour show.
Yeah.
It might not seem big in the big. If this was a Raw, of course, it would be very short. However, it's a 1 hour show. You can't get everybody out there. They're doing the best part of 3 matches every show at best. So, so far they're doing a pretty decent job of making sure everything's moving where it should be, and those that are not featured get featured the week after. And nothing's sort of been lost, so I'm quite happy.
And they're not rushing anything, John. They're
That's
not.
good as
We
well.
alluded to that last week, but they're not rushing anything.
We're so
they're
used
giving
to
it
that
time.
as well.
Yeah.
On WWE TV, like for those people that I always say this: if you want to take a break, if you feel like WWE is just giving you too much down your gullet sometimes, then an hour. It's quite easy to consume. It's a lot more digestible, and like I say, they're not just pouncing on storylines. The great thing is as well, John. I think that one of the reasons this is happening is because there's no insight of a takeover. So they've got to do this week to week like a TV show.
Yeah.
And I think that helps because normally if we've got a takeover coming, we know everything's kind of going to sort of happen, and the eventuality of all these feuds will all take place one night. But I think the way it's going at the minute, this kind of helps it a little bit and makes NXT UK a little bit more unique.
Definitely. But John, you alluded to it at the top of the podcast. We're going to take a little look from what's new from 1PW over on powered4.tv with 1PW Invincible.
Briscoe brothers on side against Matt Sydal and the current Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions Generation Next, Roderick Strong and Austin Aries themselves.
Austin Aries is impressive. Look at that match, obviously over. You got Bryan Danielson.
Now this is
perhaps pound for pound the best technical wrestler in the world. It has been said many times. Only way that you're going to have Joe down on the mat. He's got the champs in there helping him.
There we go, John. So lots to look forward to from 1PW. Yeah, I mean, that's a cracking show. I can't wait to check it out myself.
Roderick Strong, the Briscoes.
Well, I was going to say, tell us what's on there. Have you got some of the cards you might be able to read out to us?
Yeah, I've got some of the colour. I mean, the names are just unbelievable. Nigel McGuinness up against Doug Williams is not one to be missed. I had that on earlier today, and that's a terrific match itself.
Two of the best.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got the likes of Abyss there, of course. He's quite a regular feature at these 1PW events when he was there. You've got a tremendous 3-on-3 match right at the beginning of this thing. I mean, it's very unusual, I will say, to see the Briscoes anywhere out of their comfort zone with Ring of Honor. I can't say I've seen it too many times, but the fact they're there, they look so young as well, which is unbelievable. You've got Austin Aries is on it. Roderick Strong, as I said earlier, looking like completely different, I have to say. And yeah, just a whole array of just incredible talent. Just go and check it out. There's also, of course, Jody Fleiss, Johnny Storm, they're there in a tag team match. Like they do some funny stuff there with our fan favourite Colt Cabana, who is never one to miss, that's for sure. He's a terrific talent. And of course, failing that, Bryan Danielson is in action as well. And like, this is a time where I'd say Bryan Danielson was the sort of biggest indie name going. I mean, he was massive at this point with Ring of Honor, so you're not going to want to miss that as well. And yeah, just a real mix. Guys from Noah, guys from Ring of Honor, guys from TNA, and of course our UK talent. And so it's a long show as well. I think this one's like 3.5 hours long, so you really get your money's worth here. Go and check that out, and don't forget We've got 3 other big 1PW events as well, including the Iron Sheik shoot interview, which, you know, he's never short of a few words, and always very fascinating to see where he goes with his stuff, I tell you that much. So yeah, check it out, powered4.tv.
Brilliant.
And also, while we're here, don't forget, guys, use the promotional code
yes,
POWERD, 50% off the first month. Go and check it out. Give you guys a little break. Go over there now, and yeah, check it all out.
Awesome. Let's get back to NXT UK though, John, because we still got more to talk about. And the next match was Emile versus Nina Samuels. This match was set up a couple of weeks ago when these two are tag team partners in a match against Xia Brookside and Danny Luna. We spoke about that match with high regard. We really enjoyed that match. But it was a short-lived relationship between Emile and Nina Samuels. You may remember when Nina Samuels abandoned Emile to finish the match on a lonesome and lose to the pairing of Xia Brookside and Danny Luna. And as you would expect, Nina Samuels was very much the aggressor in this one, using her heelish tactics, I might say, to put Emile through her paces. And despite a valiant effort from Emile, it was Nina Samuels who picked up the win with her final act, signature move. And yeah, it looks like Nina Samuels, we've said this before, she's a good talent, she's a good talker, got some good moves. Emile is definitely one for the future, but in the little backstage segment after this match, it looks like they're setting up a little program between Nina Samuels and Piper Niven, which will be interesting. We've waxed lyrical about the NXT UK Women's Division before. Like I say, it's got a lot of promising talent there. But I know you wasn't a fan of that big brawl they had a few weeks back. But was you a fan of this match between Emile and Nina Samuels? And what about Nina Samuels versus Piper Niven for the future?
Yeah, I was a big fan of this match. This was an excellent match. You know, a lot of people harp on about, you know, some of the main roster of women and how good that is, but like check the NXT UK female roster.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
solid.
very decent, and they're not just going out there having matches like kind of like matches for the sake of it for TV. These are all kind of, they're really putting a lot in. They're trying to showcase their stuff, and at the same time, you know, they are working in the confines of, again, a very short amount of time. So, you know, look, we're not expecting them to be able to go out and pull off 5-star matches because of the time. But I think for what it is, you know, they're producing the goods. Good storytelling in the ring, I will say, and, you know, very enjoyable to watch. The idea of the feud coming next, I mean, yeah, Piper Niven, I think, you know, we've been thinking like, yeah, there's still a lot of promise with her. Where's she going next? This probably makes perfect sense now with Samuels to get on with that feud and have something like just a sort of undercard feud for the women's division at the moment, whilst of course the NXT women's title takes place probably with Ginny involved, of course.
Yeah, and then we get the final match in the first round of the Heritage Cup, John. Now we've spoken about the Heritage Cup at length, so I'm not going to go through the rules like I have done in previous weeks. Now I know that
you could be like Howard Finkel at the Royal Rumble every time.
Not going to happen. But you know, you've not been a big fan of the format. You're not a big fan of the kind of the gap between the rounds, are you, John? But
no.
Are you warming to it as the weeks go on, as you see kind of the first round matches? Is the concept, you know, is it kind of becoming more of a favourite of yours, or not? You know, we're into the fourth first round match, and is it kind of doing anything for you even at this stage?
Well, I enjoyed last week with Mastiff. Obviously, I gave that a lot of praise.
Yeah,
that I enjoyed it more.
Really good.
To be honest with you,
match.
I don't mind the format. It's just I think that overall, what they having this whole heritage and, you know, throwback, I think it doesn't really, it's not that transparent as probably what it should be. I do think they could have done different things. Someone suggested something, a listener actually last week, and they said, why not have like a round where you can only do like ground stuff, and then the next round is like where you're on your feet, and then the third one is like just submissions. I don't know, there was just like a concept that they'd seen in Japan, and, you know, listen, I think that's a bit too out of the box for WWE liking. They're not too good with that sports side of it. I mean, this is as close as you're going to get, quite frankly, and I did say it's like a ramped up version, like a computer game. It's a little bit faster. I don't think the stuff in between the rounds just should be a lot longer. Am I warming to it a little bit more? I'm not really, but I am looking forward to, you know, the semi-finals, where this goes, because there's, you know, now we've got sort of, you know, two cracking matches coming up, and it's going to be hard to call it a little bit as well.
It really is.
But,
yeah.
This was a great match, though. I enjoyed the story of Trent. I mean, they really seem to be. I don't know if you felt it as well, but they seem to be like really harping on that Trent Seven is, the old guard, and
all the
he's still there. They're really trying to shove that down your throat. So that might tell you something. Obviously, you look at the dynamic, babyface, heel on both sides. Very unlikely we're going to see two heels in the finals. I'll say that much. So, but two good, promising matches. I'm hoping that that's the stage where maybe the Heritage Cup takes a different stance for me, and they get really super creative with it, because obviously there's a lot more at stake now this far into it.
Yeah, and this was a great match between Kenny Williams and Trent Seven. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all the highlights, but Trent Seven did pick up the first pinfall. Kenny Williams came back soon after to even things out, but it was Trent Seven who won the match, getting the second pinfall. The pace of this match, I think the beauty of the Heritage Cup that I've noticed is it always starts off slow. The first 2 or 3 rounds starts off slow, lots of groundwork, lots of mat-based offense. And then it picks up by the end of round 3, round 4, round 5. They progress into like 100-mile-an-hour match, and that's exactly what we got here. And I honestly had an inkling. I thought the veteran might put over the younger Kenny Williams in this one to make a bit more of a star of Kenny Williams. Of course, he had that breakout moment when he won the triple threat qualifying match to be entered into the tournament to face Trent Williams a few weeks back. But this was a great match, and it was very nearly a star-making match for Kenny Williams. I would have loved to have seen the younger, more exciting Kenny Williams progress, but they went with the veteran, they went with the old guard, they went with the experience in Trent Seven. Nothing wrong with that. We did talk last week, John, about whether this was an opportunity for Trent Seven to get his hands on some singles silverware, should we say, with the Heritage Cup. But this was a good match. Trent Seven was the winner. He goes through to the semi-final to face Dave Mastiff. On the other side of the draw, you've got Noam Dar versus A-Kid. So 2 really, really strong semi-final matches. And I think that we could see, both matches going into the 5th and the 6th round, which is something we haven't seen too much from the first round matches. But any kind of thoughts on the semi-final pairings there, John?
Yeah, just that 2 of my picks are facing each other, so that's going to knock me down by 1. But Noam Dar, I'm hoping, I keep saying he's my dark horse in this from the beginning, and I'm hoping, look, nothing against Trent Seven. I just think from the standpoint of really giving somebody something and a little bit of worth, I kind of feel like A-Kid or Noam Dar would be my kind of pick still. If I'm totally honest with you, it would be... At this point, if you was a betting man, I would say that Mastiff is probably, the well outsider of this one. If I'm totally honest, I will be shocked if we see Mastiff in the finals. That's for sure. But you never know. You never know. But I was surprised Mastiff went over last week, so he could be the dark horse. Maybe it's all about him that they're setting up, the guy that we haven't spoke about too much. But I'm looking forward to both of them. I'd be a little bit disappointed if they did go with Trent Seven afterwards. Nothing against Trent Seven, but I think he's quite established. They can go a different way. If he loses by hook and crook in the finals, there's another story to be told about him and his journey. So, I'm hoping A-Kid or Noam Dar at this point.
Yeah, and Noam Dar, he's pretty much the only heel left in the tournament now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, absolutely.
So some quite interesting dynamics going forward, and potential matchups for the final. But really, really good. And the Heritage Cup is really going to start heating up from, I don't know if they're going to have the semi-final matches next week. They didn't announce it, but they might just be holding off for the following week to give as much room for the championship match.
I would save them. I'd save them.
Yeah.
I think there's enough on next week. And like you say, if they do go those extra rounds, they're going to need more time anyway. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that contract signing though, John, because this for me was the highlight of the show this week. Most definitely. Obviously, we're alluding to the big championship match is going to be happening next week. Long-time number 1 contender Ilya Dragunov going up against long-time NXT UK champion Walter, and of course he beat Pete Dunne to win the championship. Was it? Crikey! WrestleMania weekend 2019 over in New York, TakeOver New York, a hell of a match, and he's been a champion ever since. But yeah, we had these two come out to the ring. You got the table there. You got the contract in the middle. They both sign the contract, and then they stand up to one another. And then you usually in WWE contract signings, John, you get the big brawl. You normally get the fight, so you know there's going to be some drama or another. But they do have a brawl here. Walter rips the shirt off of Dragunov, punishes him with some almighty chops. Now, we've seen some chops from Walter, especially that one last week in that epic tag match, but he laid some chops in again on Dragunov here, and his poor chest, but they went out to the outside, more chops. There's a powerbomb from Walter onto Dragunov on the edge of the ring. Dragunov somehow made a recovery, and he kind of speared or launched Walter through the guard railings at ringside. And the end of the show came to a close with Dragunov wearily kind of picking up the NXT UK Championship bout as the show went off the air. So a really, really hot way to close the show with that contract signing. There was no power bombs through the table this time. The table didn't come into play apart from being launched across the other side of the ring. But it was they kind of picked up where they left off last week, and they kind of left us wanting more, certainly left me wanting more, and like I say, next week can't come soon enough for me. But give us your thoughts on what went down here, and are you even more hyped for next week's championship match?
I'm still on the same. I was hyped anyway from last week. I think two main things to really point out here is A, they didn't have any mention or any presence from Pete Dunne, which I think helped, because every time he was there or around them, it's just like I'm crying out for a different match here, which I felt helped the whole situation. Secondly, look, it would only be original now if there isn't anything that happens at these contract signings. I mean, one day we may just get a contract signing where nothing happens and both guys walk back. Maybe they shake hands and then they go back.
And wish each other well. May the best man win.
Yeah, exactly. And that might be a bit boring for TV, but who knows? It might be like, oh my god moment, but nothing happened. But I was expecting someone to go through that table. I got to be quite honest with you at one point. But yeah, as you say, Walter, huge thumping slaps. I mean, backhanded slaps as well, that we saw. And Dragunov getting it in there as well. He had some great offense, took him through the barrier as well. They were really trying to send home something here. I guess if this is like a go home show almost for their big title match the following week, it hasn't changed my mind one iota, I have to say, about who I think is going to win. I still say Walter will be retaining his title, for me anyway. I don't know what I should have done some research before this, but I'm calling this one up, and I'm not sure you'd have the answers either, but I'm sure one of our viewers will be crying out. But I don't know what the difference is at the moment between Walter's reign and like how close that's becoming to where Pete Dunne's was, and I've got this feeling that maybe the moment Walters edges closer to it, that's when they'll book that match with Pete Dunne as a way to.
Because I think Pete Dunne's reign was 600 days, wasn't it?
It's long. Even with this whole COVID break, I still think it's much longer. But potentially that's a route they could go, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's when we finally get that Pete Dunne Walter match, is to knock him off before he surpasses his record, of course. But of course, I threw this one back at you last week, and I know you was kind of up on Dragunov. Are you still holding that out, or has this changed your mind? Again, I go with WWF mathematics. Whoever gets those last upper hands tends to lose. That's where I'm looking at it. So it would really shock me. I have to say, it would absolutely shock me if we get something else next week. But go on, mate. You give me your prediction.
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna come off the fence, and I'm gonna lay my cards on the table, and I'm gonna say, and I might be the only one to say this, but I'm gonna go for a Dragunov win. Why not?
Wow.
He got the pin last week. Yeah, the upper hand. Well, he didn't really have the upper hand of the contract signing brawl, but he was the last man standing, put it that way. Although his chest looked like it had been through a meat grinder, and it probably felt like it went through a meat grinder as well. But I'm gonna go for Dragunov, just not to be different, but I think it's time for a change. And as I mentioned last week, Dragunov could go on and have fantastic championship run. but it could potentially give us that Pete Dunne Walter rematch without the gold on the line. I think the two of them don't need the championship on the line if they face each other. Just the name value and the stature of these two individuals. You don't need gold or championship on the line in their match if they face each other again. Although you kind of add to the stakes, I suppose. But yeah, I'm going to go for Dragunov. Yeah, I think that could open the door to some interesting championship matches with him defending against the likes of, I don't know, Eddie Dennis, for example. That'd be pretty awesome. Alexander Wolf, I think those two could have a great match. But yeah, so I'm going to, be different from yourself. I'm going to give Dragunov a little bit of hope here, and I hope that it's going to be a tremendous match. It's going to be stiff, hard hitting, physical. Both of them are going to be kind of on their knees by the end of the match, but it's going to be a great match. And so we're kind of both on different sides of the fence here, John.
Absolutely. But I'm looking forward to the match in general.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great show next week. We've already alluded to some good things, some good happenings next week. Obviously, Eddie Dennis there as well. What sort of mind games is he going to play? Jordan Devlin, of course, coming back. So it's I can't wait till next week already. I'm kind of I hope this rolls around as quick as the last one did, because I'm excited to see this title match. We've been waiting for this title match for ages. I mean, I thought this title match was going to be on episode 1 of the relaunch. Obviously down the line here. So. Yeah, I'm excited to see it finally. It's been a long time coming, and let's just hope that it now lives up to the billing. I'm sure it will.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope so, and we'll be talking about it next week on NXT UK Weekly with myself and John Scott. But John, like we do every single week, I'm going to ask you where your kind of thumb lies on this one. Is it thumbs up episode, thumbs down, and maybe a thumbs in the middle? Where do you rate this one?
Thumbs up. Absolutely thumbs up. No problems for me. I enjoyed this show. The pacing of it is excellent. This is what I want to see. And one of the key things here, I was really worried when NXT UK first started over, is when they kept coming out and talking to nobody and looking at walls. That scared me a little bit, because I thought, blimey, we've gone past that on the main WWE stuff. They've got screens and LED stuff all around it now. So this is a nightmare if they're going to just be looking at nobody. But finally, they are talking to that camera. So that's good. That helps me a lot. One thing I just want to throw out before you give your thumbs up or thumbs down or in the middle, but there was a different kind of cheer. I noticed there was a clapping type thing going on tonight. I don't know if you noticed that. It was a lot more smaller, as if there's this little crowd. And then whilst the Walter and Dragunov altercation was going on, I did see a little crew just hanging around in the back. I was wondering if that was just them. But yeah, slightly different. It wasn't as loud, because sometimes when you hear that big cheer, you're like, come on, that ain't there. So I was happy. They've kind of adapted and modified it a little bit, which helps, I think.
Yeah, it's all the 2K sound effects from the computer game, John. That's all it is.
Someone's sitting there with a button. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I think last week was a solid thumbs up, especially because of that epic tag match we had at the very end, and last week's show from top to bottom was very, very good. I think this week, yeah, another thumbs up. Look, I really enjoyed the Trent Seven Kenny Williams match. I even enjoyed, Oliver Carter versus Eddie Dennis, and Oliver Carter surprised me. I think he really, really put in a good display, and I think Eddie Dennis made him look very, very good. But Eddie Dennis, of course, pulled off an excellent win, and that contract signing was pretty stiff, and yeah, he sets up that main event match, that championship match for next week perfectly. So yeah, definitely a good thumbs up for me. Can't wait for next week's show. Can't wait to talk to you next week about that championship match. And like we said on previous episodes, hopefully they dedicate the majority, if not the entirety of that hour to that main event. I know we got the Eddie Dennis and Flash Morgan, Mark Andrews mediation or intervention, whatever it is. And of course that championship match. But as long as they dedicate kind of the good kind of final half an hour of that show to the championship match, that will kind of give it that stature and that importance importance that it deserves. But definitely a thumbs up episode from me. Like I say, quite a few good highlights besides that contract signing. But John, that brings to an end another really fun episode of NXT UK Weekly. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Press subscribe. Don't forget to hit like as well. Don't forget to check out the Powered for TV podcast as well. It's brand new. You've got all of these episodes up there as well, including my interview with Kim Artlett. So check that out, and lots more to drop on the podcast very soon. And don't forget to sign up to powered4.tv and use your promo code POWERED for 50% off your first month. But any closing words from yourself, John?
No, I was gonna send you some praise back. Obviously, coming very close now to your anniversary.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to tell people anything we might get there that you've got under your hat. I know you've announced a few things on your Facebook, but I'm kind of looking forward to 2 years in. Yeah, go ahead, my friend.
Absolutely. So yes, it's going to be a week long worth of podcast celebrations from the Wrestling with John's podcast. It's kicking off with the AEW Full Gear review with myself and Mags, one of my kind of podcast friends, and members of the Brood, the Turnbuckle Arms are going to be on there as well. So a whole collection of friends that have been with me over the last 2 years that are going to be joining me for that AEW Full Gear review. Then myself, John Scott, and Mike Angus, we're going to be doing a special look back and a bit of a draft of the top 10 Intercontinental Champions of all time. So you've got to tune in for that. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. See how we kind of narrow down our lists to get an ultimate top 10 of Intercontinental Champions. And the week's going to be headlined with my interview with Adam Maxted. Adam Maxted has got such an amazing future ahead of him, one of the brightest prospects on the UK indie circuit, and so much of a bright future for Adam Maxted. And I'll be speaking to him soon, and that'll be dropping at the end of that week. Long of celebrations for the 2-year anniversary of Wrestling with John. So thanks for that, John. But
busy week.
Busy week, definitely. But
that week.
Definitely.
Sure you're going to make it for NXT UK that week. Definitely.
Well, that's going to be part of the celebrations as well. Kind of me speaking to you again on NXT UK Weekly that week. So there's going to be more Johners and more John Scott that you can handle for sure. But from this week's episode of NXT UK Weekly, exclusively on the Powered 4 TV YouTube channel and podcast, we'll catch you all again next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is me,